Staying with us to the Money Desk now, and our business editor Devin Murugan is of course in studio with me. Devin, a few minutes ago I spoke to the Cape Town International Airport about this jet fuel shortage. They seem to be thinking that everything will be sorted soon. They're just waiting for supply to arrive. Yep. But what are airlines saying?
Well, look, there's always a possibility, and I incidentally heard that interview, there's a possibility that we could get flight disruptions or even cancellations. What's happening is that we are waiting for this tanker of fuel that's being delayed at sea to reach Cape Town. And if that doesn't happen soon, presumably by Monday it would be there, you could see some huge disruptions. And of course, the economy doesn't need that at this point in time. So let's go with that background. If you're planning to fly out of Cape Town anytime soon, just be warned that the airport is facing a fuel shortage. It only has a few days of fuel left, that's jet fuel, and flight cancellations could be on board if pumps are not full soon. So the airport has begun rationing fuel, and this has the Aviation, or rather the Airlines Association of Southern Africa, worried. Let's speak to CEO Aaron Munetsi, who incidentally is in Montreal in Canada at the moment. He talks to us from there. Aaron, thanks very much indeed for your time. I mean, before we get to what's been happening with the jet fuel in Cape Town, you are at this aviation summit in Canada, rubbing shoulders with the global airlines. Are the challenges globally similar to what South Africa is experiencing here at the moment?
Thank you, Devin, and thank you for having us. Yes, I am here in Montreal attending the International Civil Aviation Organization's triennial summit, rubbing shoulders with aviation leaders from all over the world. And yes, there are similarities in terms of the challenges that we are facing. Everybody is facing, number one, the critical challenge of the cost of aviation fuel. We are also facing the same challenges in terms of maintaining sustainability, reducing our carbon emissions, and so on and so forth. The geopolitics obviously are things that are also impacting us as airlines globally. So we are not in a world where we are isolated. However, we have our own challenges that are peculiar to us back home.
Let's get into that jet fuel issue at Cape Town International Airport. So we're waiting for this delivery to arrive. What's happening now is that rations are being implemented until we wait for that fuel to be delivered. Do you see flight cancellations and disruptions soon? We're heading towards the weekend. People are flying up and down. Could we see disruptions as a result of that fuel shortage?
Devin, hopefully not. What has been happening is, yes, we are engaging behind the scenes on a daily basis with our major stakeholders, the airports company in South Africa, and the fuel suppliers themselves. We have also the South African Petroleum Industry Association, as well as the fuel suppliers that actually do the supply of fuel into the aircraft. Everybody is on board. And what we are talking about, Devin, is to say we want a security of supply. It is actually very, very concerning for us as airlines to get to a stage where at any stage we do not have security supply of fuel, because end of the day, the only thing that we sell as airlines, besides what you see on board, is the schedule integrity. When we say to you, you're going to be able to fly from point A to point B, take off at this time and land at that time, that is the promise that we're making to you. Now, the shortage of fuel becomes an issue for us, because then our member airlines will not be able to fulfill that promise to you. What we are seeing right now is at Cape Town International Airport, the supply situation is right now at 4.2 days of fuel stock that is available right now as we speak. What that means is if there was no fuel decanted at Cape Town International, the stock will last us 4.2 days at the current consumption. So yes, we've been taking precautionary measures to advise our airline members to say, if you can try and combine flights that are not fully booked so that you can have economies of scale, and you're not going to deplete the stocks that we have until such time as we have fully restocked and we have enough fuels for everybody.
What do you want government to do? Because I see one of your requests is that government waives that additional en route air navigation and airport fees. Because what's happening is that the planes are landing at airports they weren't scheduled to land to refuel, and then they're also letting go of some passengers to carry more fuel on board. So just very quickly tell me what's your request to government here?
Our request to government is to play along with us, make sure that unnecessary costs are taken out of the equation. If there is any need for an airline to divert anywhere, they must not be penalized, number one. Number two, we want the government to make sure that they secure supplies that are going to be foolproof of any incidences, be it the bad weather or whatever happens. We need to be able to make sure that there's enough fuel supply, especially for our domestic operations not to be disrupted. Obviously, we also rely on international feed. That should also not be disrupted.
Yeah, how do they do that very quickly?
What they do is, right now, our biggest challenge is that we are 100% reliant on imported jet fuel. If our refinery becomes functional, then we start refining our own jet fuel. We will not be reliant on fuel coming outside the country and then getting disrupted by weather. We will then be, what we are saying is government must actually get the refinery up and running as quickly as possible.